Hello, welcome to my first official episode of Tajes Therapeutic Talks. Make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. And today I will be having a therapeutic conversation and talk with my mom, Tanya Toney, and my business partner. And we will just be talking and going with the flow. And hopefully we get something out of this conversation today.
Today, we're going to talk about how we got here as a family, Kyana became a doctor, and all the trials and tribulations we went through to get to this point. This has been a journey that took a toll on my entire family, but with hard work and perseverance, we ended up here today, and I'm happy to share being a mother to someone successful, where my position is being her business partner, and understanding that conversations need to happen not only in business, in family, and relationships.
Okay. Yes, so that's what we'll be talking about today. So what let's start with Therapeutic Talks LLC. So this year we started the private practice, and you have been my person for all the administrative stuff and helping me get to the point of opening everything up. How has that been for you so far?
Starting a business is a challenge. And when you are starting a business with someone who has their vision, you have to try to be forceful but stay in the background because you want it to be their vision and their dream. When my daughter first started doing the practice, one thing that she was afraid of was doing insurance. And I said, I'll take care of getting insurance. Let's do it. I went in, and now we're credentialed with a few insurance companies because I realized that if we're going to help our community, a lot of people use insurance. So I wanted her business to be successful in that aspect. So it was a challenge in the beginning to make sure that she gets what she wants, but I also enhance what she needs so we can be successful.
Yes, and that has been the main part of getting to this point, because I didn't want to deal with all the business stuff, administrative stuff, and she took that role, and it's been coming and it's been building. So I appreciate everything that you've done up until this point. And how has it been for you with me becoming the boss and telling you what to do?
Well, one of my favorite lines as a mom is, I'm not the boss, but I am bossy. And I have to make sure that I remember at all times that I cannot do anything without my boss. It's very important for me to stand back and understand that she is the CEO and I am her employee. So her rules and her worth ethic is what I go by. She tells me what to do. I have a deadline. I need to do it. I have to be held accountable for everything I do, and I have to send her a monthly invoice of what I've done because I don't want to take advantage of her because she is my daughter. So when we're working, she's my business partner, and I feel good about it because I can show her what I'm doing. We're getting paid, and we're getting clients. So the building is slowly building, but we want to make it solid. So we're not rushing, and that's what I like about it, because Dr. Kyana still does her practice where she works from Florida. She works in New York, and her practice is building here in New York. So she's licensed in 2 states. So we have to keep that in mind, and we're learning so much about business and insurance companies and sessions. And I'm learning the back end of how important it is for her to get her work done for us to get paid.
Yeah. Yes. Am I a good boss so far?
Sometimes.
Okay.
It's not easy being a mom to be told what to do by your daughter, but if I see the fruits of our labor, I'm proud. And that's part of being a mother of a successful woman, is that I have to look at her sometimes and realize that's my seed and she grew, and I respect her when she is being a boss. I respect her challenges, and I respect her mind and where she wants to go. I took her where she needs to be, and now it's time for me to follow her lead.
Okay. Yeah. So what was that journey like to get to this point, for like the school process up until this point? What was that like for you
It was
as a mother now?
It was difficult. There were many challenges as we were going through, and as you hear, I'm saying we were going through, because support is everything when someone is trying to reach their dreams. You can never tell someone that their dream is too big. Kyana decided to go to get her doctorate, and at that time, I believed as her mom, she really just applied to Nova Southeastern University, which is the hardest school to get into to become a doctor in her field, because she wanted to quiet us as parents. She just felt like, let me apply. She only applied to one school, the hardest school to apply to. And at that time, we flew to Florida. And when she went in to get, it was an 8-hour interview process to get into the school. My mom and I were sitting in the parking lot, and there were hundreds of people going into the school to get interviewed and to be picked for her program. When Kyana came out of the program, she says, please don't tell anybody that I did this, because they're only picking 12 people in the country to get into this program. Now, she didn't realize she left a praying mother and grandmother in the car, and she was going to be one of those 12. And it was very hard for me to keep quiet and stay humble about that. But when she got into the program, it just changed our lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember with applying to the program, I was like, okay, I didn't want to do it at first, but I was like, okay, let me just try to do it and see what happens. And I only applied to one school. I wanted to change the scenery. I never lived in Florida before. I'm like, if I'm going to keep going to school, I want to be in the sunshine. I want to be by the beach, and I'll try it. So when I got in, it was a shock for me, because it was like, reality hit, and now I had to do it. So one thing about me is, like, if I start something, I try to finish it. And like, it's like once you come to a certain point, it makes no sense to stop. So that's how we got there. And your support, Daddy's support, has been everything to get me to this point. And I have parents that will do anything to make sure I get to where I want to be, and I appreciate that, definitely.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the biggest challenges during her being in school was COVID. It was around COVID time. And that was a big challenge for us as a family, because we were losing family members. She was in Florida by herself. And at one point, Kyana was ready to quit the program. And we changed our lives by me leaving everything in New York and jumping on a plane to say, we can't quit. We have to keep going. I had no plans. I had no idea why I was going. I just know that my daughter needed me at that time. And we became roommates, and that was a great part of our journey. Hopefully we'll talk about that one day, where I became her roommate. I left my husband, I left my job, I left my security to make sure that she was secure enough to finish her program.
Yeah, that time was crazy. COVID happened when I was in school, and it was like the schoolwork was hard. I felt like for the first time in my life, I was being challenged. Like, I usually do what I have to do to get things done, and that program had really challenged me. And during COVID, at least I had something to look forward to. When it was, I always planned a trip to go home. I could see family, I could see friends. There was always somebody visiting me, something to look forward to. But when COVID happened, I couldn't see my family, I couldn't see my friends, so I did feel alone. And I appreciate you coming and helping me through that process, because, I know I had the support, but it's different when you have people actually there. And during that time, for me, I had the goal that I was going to finish the program in 3 years, and that was it for me. So when things started to change and my plans started to change, I wasn't taking it well, and things were taking longer than they were supposed to be. So I was struggling at that point, and I was like, you know what? I can't be around my family. This program is challenging me, so I need a break.
Right. So how do you feel like your mental health was at that point?
So at that point, I felt overwhelmed. I felt disappointed. I felt a little discouraged at the time, because I'm not used to being challenged in this way. I'm used to, like, when I put my mind to something, it gets done. I do what I have to do, and I, I get things done. So to be pushed back and to think that I have to be in this program longer than I planned for, that was hard on me. I was like, dang, I feel like I'm trying to do everything I'm supposed to do and I'm not getting the results. So that was tough on me because in the first time in my life, I felt like I was being really challenged. So that was tough on my mental health a little bit. And then I couldn't go home and be around family. I had friends and family in Florida, and I appreciate all the support and family I had in Florida. And at the same time, New York was always home. So my parents were there, my close friends were there. So it was like I missed my people and I couldn't get to my people. So I felt alone sometimes, but I always had someone to call. So that helped. Right. So my mental health was a little challenged at that point, and school was rough. I felt like that there's this thing called imposter syndrome, and I think I felt that the most while I was in school because I'm like, up until this point I was never challenged, and now I'm being challenged, and now I gotta stand in front of people and talk about what I'm supposed to know, and I'm like, I don't feel like I know, but I got through it. I was able to get through the program, and it showed me that, I've been doing this. I've put in the work, so I'm capable of, being where I am today. So my mental health struggled a little bit, right. But support, family, positive affirmations, empowering myself, talking to people, that's what got me through at the time. Right. And I was in a mental health basically a mental health program, a therapy program. So that always made you think about like your feelings and self of the therapist, self of the person, and you had to look at yourself all the time. So it was like it was challenging me, but it made me really reflect on who I am and how I handle things, definitely.
Well, being a parent of someone in a program like that, like you were talking about, you get to learn the professional way to deal with problems. I had to be a mother who said, my daughter's struggling. She's having obstacles. There's hurdles we need to get over. I have to figure out how we're going to get her back into a good mental state so she could be in a better place to be in the position to be able to finish what she's doing. And as a parent, you're not a therapist, but you can hear and see and feel when your child is not right. And that's what I was feeling at the time when I made the decision to get on a plane and say, what do you need from me? And what she needed was a mom. And at that time, all I did was go there and let her know that, listen, anything you need me to do to get you to the next level, which I didn't know what that would be. I'm not as educated as my daughter, so I just was there to support her. I did laundry, I cooked food, I made sure that the house was clean. Like whatever I needed her to do, I just wanted her to focus on school. And we had our challenges. I ended up changing my job, so I went through a lot of challenges myself personally, where I ended up working in an emergency room during COVID, and that made me have some mental things going on. So it was a big challenge. And one thing we have to talk about too one day is that even though she is a therapist, when I needed a therapist, I couldn't even go to my own daughter. She couldn't help me. I can't help her. So we have to still go out and see professional therapists, even though it's in the family business.
Yeah, definitely. So two things stood out to me about what you said. The first thing was you said you could tell I wasn't right. What did that look like when I wasn't right?
Well, on the phone calls didn't sound the same. You didn't feel the passion you were feeling about the program when you first started. You just wanted to be over and done, and we knew that you're in the process of writing a dissertation, so you're not done until that dissertation is complete. You also had to defend your case. So at that point, you heard it in your voice, like, I need a break. And me being a single mom at the time that she was born, I took a break from college and I never went back. So it was very important for me to convince her not to take a break, let's finish, because I felt like if she took a break, it's harder to go back. And at this point, now that we're here, do you think that was the right decision?
Yeah, I think it was the right decision because truthfully, if I took that break, I would not have went back. I
Right.
would not have gone back. That's why I was in school nonstop for all those years, because I knew once I stopped, me personally, I wasn't going back. I realized when I'm done with a certain chapter in my life, I
Close the
move
door.
on. I close the door, and that's one thing I got to work on, is that I got to reach back out to people and network with people. But I feel like once a certain chapter's done, I do not. I don't like going back. I don't like backpedaling. I don't like. I don't like doing that. So I'm glad I stuck to it and finished it out, because I knew myself and I knew I didn't want to. I
and
wasn't gonna go
I
back.
knew her, so that was the challenge. It was like, okay, I know I'm not doing the schoolwork, but I can't make you stop. And that was a challenge for both of us. And there were days that we had some rough conversations, because in my eyes, I saw her potential. And even to this day, my daughter doesn't see what I see when I look at her. And that's another challenge, being a mother daughter, being a boss, is because what I see, she doesn't see it in herself. And it's my job to bring it out of her and to pull it out of her and to make her see that she is not even walking halfway in her greatness yet. She's just starting. Even though we did so much to get here, there's so much more to be done. And I'm never going to stop being her biggest advocate, her cheerleader, her supporter, whatever she needs me to be at the moment. That's who I am. But sometimes I just have to be a mom. So that's the challenges that, we have to work on, and setting boundaries.
Yeah, we come back. Yep, boundaries. Yeah. Um. Another thing that stood out to me was that what did you learn about mental health during that process? What did you learn about mental health?
If we're going to be real and transparent, I had my own personal mental health situation while we were in Florida. I was dealing with a lot of death in my family, and I was feeling guilty because I was in Florida supporting my daughter, but I wasn't in New York supporting my family. My husband lost his brother at the time, and that deeply affected me for a while, and I went into a depression. I ended up being in a position where I had to get mental help. If everything was falling apart, I was breaking. And I know that's not a great word for you, but I don't know how to describe it where people will understand. When someone feels like they're breaking, it means that I felt like I had no control over my own life, my own thinking at the time. I went into, it was like a 911 situation. If I didn't have the support of my family to pull me out of where I was going, I probably wouldn't be sitting here right now having this conversation.
Yeah, so that taught me a lot. Like, you could go to school, you could read the books, but when you're in the real life situations and experiencing like a real mental health situation, it's different when it's someone personal to you and someone close to you, because I was like, this is not my mom, and that was scary for me, that the mom I knew was not herself at the time. So that was scary, and I felt like I was going to school to help people through stuff like this, and I felt like I can't help her. Like, I don't know what to do. So that's when I learned why they say I can't be the therapist to my own family and friends, because it's that emotional attachment, and it's like it's impossible. And I learned that through that situation. But it was definitely a different perspective once we actually went through that. We got through it, and I learned mental health. Even though I was in school reading the books and stuff, I learned it from a whole different perspective. And
Well, I felt like, not that I'm downplaying what happened to me, I kind of felt like we learned as a family, mental health is real, and it can happen to anyone at any time. And when I had me personally going through what I went through, my family was like, whoa, this is real. Like, Tanya's breaking down. She's the strongest one. How can this happen to her? And everybody got scared, because if it could happen to me, they realized it could happen to anyone. But what I loved about that time of my life, now that I could reflect back on it, is that my family never turned away from me. They came, they stepped up. My brother drove in the car. My husband was there. My daughter was there. And real talk, I ended up in the hospital. In Florida, it's called the Baker Act, where I had to be in the hospital for 72 hours because they were afraid. Now, I don't remember all the things that I talked about, but one of the things that they were afraid was that I was going to hurt myself. And at that point, that's when it got real. And I feel like after I had that happen to me, Kyana just got into her dissertation. She was like, I want to get this over with. I want to get out of here, and we're going to move on to the next chapter. And I felt like that was a good thing because it taught everyone around us how serious mental health is, how much therapists are needed. How we have our own story of how we saved the Black family. Like, it's real. And I'm glad that I'm here to talk about it, and I'm very transparent about it. Anyone that wants to call and talk about it, I have been diagnosed, but I work. I'm normal. I'm okay. But I know that there's triggers and there's things that affect me differently, and I learned how to deal with it.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like I've learned so much through your journey, and we're still learning. And, as I feel like you could read books, but when you actually go through something, that's when you really learn about stuff. So yeah, that was a time, and
It was intense.
It was intense, but we got through it. We got through it. Yeah.
And people don't realize that you see the success of where people are, but you don't know their backstory. And that's why we're here for Therapeutic Talks, is because we're willing to talk about the backstories. We're willing to talk about the struggles. We're willing to talk about how to overcome struggles, and that it can be done. I wake up every day and I fight for my life. I fight to be here. I fight to see the success and the fruits of our labors, and it's a challenge every day. But I'm willing to accept the challenge because in the long run, it's worth it.
Definitely. I remember, this goes along with what we were just talking about. I remember at my party, you did a speech about what that journey was like and how we lost so much people at that time. And you thought I was like cold at that time. So what did you mean by that?
Okay.
When you said that, and you explained it then, but I want to.
Okay. I'm an empath, which means I will absorb all the energy in the room. And that was something that I had to work on during my journey. I had to work on not taking on everyone else's problems. And when Kyana was in the heart of doing her dissertation and trying to finish up, we lost a lot of family members. And every time I lost a family member, I would shut down. I felt like I couldn't work. I couldn't move on. I'm trying to help with the funeral arrangements. I'm trying to be supportive of my husband. I'm trying to still be there for her. And I wouldn't be focused anymore on what was my job at that time. My job at the time was to get to Florida, to get you to finish the program. But things and life kept happening, and I would break down, and she'd just keep going. So one day I said to her, how do you do this? How do you keep going? And she said to me, Mommy, I grieve in a different way. I pray in a different way. But if I don't stay focused and I stop every time life happens, I will never finish. So you can have your feelings, you do what you have to do, but I have a job to do, and I'm going to finish. So I don't think necessarily that maybe that was wrong, but now I see it's not being cold, it's being focused. And realizing that you had no control over those situations, but you did have control over finishing school. And like you said, let me finish this, then I can be more involved. And I respect that. Like I wish I had that work ethic and realize that I can deal with one thing at a time, which is part of therapy, deal with what I need to deal with, understand that I can't deal with things that I can't control, and stay focused on a task, else I won't succeed.
Yeah. And I forget one thing about me, like I'll forget about what I say. And like when you say things back, I'm like, wow, I said something like that.
Right.
But that I see that with clients sometimes, like they'll be like, oh, you said this and that. I'm like, wow, I said that. So that's why I always got to be aware of what I say.
Right.
But yeah, it like that time I learned with how I deal with grief. Like once I hear about it, I deal with it. I cry in that moment. I think about that person, and then I'm like, okay, like I was on good terms with that person, and I know they love me. I love them, and I still gotta do what I gotta do because they were proud of me, and I want to make them proud. So that's how I learned to deal with grief. Like, okay, I'll feel my feelings about it. I'll I'm gonna think about their memory and I'm gonna cry about it, but then I'm gonna move on because I know that this was their memory with me, so I want to make sure I fulfill that. So that's how I learned to deal with grief, and yeah, I just kept going, and I was ready to like go back to New York because I was missing funerals, I was missing opportunities to be with my family. So it was like, okay, I need to do what I have to do to get out of here.
Well, I'm still learning to deal with grief, and I'm still in therapy dealing with grief. And what happened to me during my stages of grief was I was angry. I was even feeling mad at God, like, God, can you wait to take these people away till we're done? Like, give me a minute. And I was dealing with, even now, during my grieving process, I might have said a lot of things to hurt people. Because I was hurting. I didn't know how to express my feelings. And I was just going through an angry phase of, you know, I can't be in two places at once. And I was hurt because I felt like I kind of abandoned people that were here, that I thought if I was here, maybe it wouldn't have turned out that way. But I understand that's why I go to therapy, to deal with things that I can't control when somebody's going to pass away. I can't control how other people deal with or how other people love. And my husband is very good at that. He deals with things in his own time. And I think with him, he uses my therapy sessions for himself because we can talk about it. And now he's opening back up. But I was afraid, like at one time, even saying, God, why did you take daddy's closest people and leave me with him? Because am I good enough? Like, I deal with all those battles and those struggles, and I know that one day I'll be healed enough to go back to some people and let them know, like, I was in such a dark and bad place, but I had to keep going. Like, we had to come back here for a funeral and jump back on a plane back to Florida and get back into life again. And it was a challenge. It was a challenge. But here we are.
Yeah, yeah. And hearing you talk about that, like the thoughts you have and how you thought about things, that's a lot of pressure to put on yourself. And I could see how someone could break. You know,
Right.
I could see how that's a lot to carry all those things, all those feelings, all those, pressures that.
Right. I think I learned as a mom, what I did was I told them that my Superwoman cape is in the cleaners right now. I tried to be Superwoman. You need me? I'm here. I'm there. I'm everywhere. Oh, my daughter, my husband, my family, my mother-in-law, my brother-in-law, I got this. I got this. And I never took time to take care of myself. So the first thing the therapist said to me when I sat down in a session was, you're talking about everybody else but you. Your cup is full and it's overflowing. You need to take a break. And I said, I don't know how to take a break. What is a break? I had to learn what a break was. And I felt guilty taking care of myself. And now I'm learning that it's okay to take time for myself and to do some self-care. One of the things that I talk about in therapy a lot is being a parent to you was the only task that I could look at that I started from the beginning and I kind of finished it. I never gave up. I never regretted any decision that I made to raise you. And you're the product, when I look at you, of hard work, focus, determination, and never stopping until we reach that goal. And that goal was the doctorate. And now I'm like, okay, now I get to sit back, watch all that hard work come into fruition, because now you started your practice, you're a CEO. Like, as a mom, how can I ask for anything better? But it didn't come easy.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing I realize is that you've always worked hard to, to raise me and get me to a certain point. And I think when you came to Florida, that was like the first time you only worked one job and you didn't know what to do with that extra time. Like
No.
you had a lot of time on your hands, and I was busy working, going to school, internships. So that was a lot of time to think. It was a lot of time for yourself, and you didn't know how to.
I didn't know how to deal with it.
You didn't know how to
I
chill.
was talking to the trees. I was like, I have nobody to talk to. I was taking long showers. Like, nobody needs the bathroom. I had my own bathroom. I had to look at the
We never had our own bathroom.
We never had our own bathroom. I had I would walk in the closet. I was organized. I had so much everything in my room. I never had my own room. And I had so much stuff in there that it was all mine. And that was the first time in my life that I was like, wow, look, I have my own stuff. I was working in the ER in Florida, so I could walk. I lost weight. I walked to work. I met new friends. I was, it was different. And I never focused on, I didn't know what to do with myself because I'd be at work and at school and I'm home and I'd just sit there like, what can I do? I had to figure out what I needed to do. So I learned about I was doing yoga. I was doing energy bracelets. I was doing all these things that I never had time to do. And I was making friends with the craziest people and, just getting to figure out who I was again. Because who am I if I'm not your mom? That's a big question.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm working on now.
Yeah.
Who am I?
What you just said was a lot because you said I was like the biggest focus and goal to get me to graduate. And now that's done. And now you got to figure out, okay, what do I want? What,
right.
And that.
I'm going to work on that. One day in this podcast, I'll figure out who I am and where I want to be. So that's part of what we're going to talk about and how if I get to where I feel comfortable and I feel, in a safe place to say, well, you know what? I'm always going to need you in my life and I want you in my life. But we can make that a partnership, and that is important. But there's so many phases of being a woman and trying to, understand that as a woman, I have to be strong. I have to be, I don't want to be always the role model. I want to enjoy life too, but I can let that go because I don't have children anymore. I have adults. And that feels good. When someone says, "How many children do you have?" I say, "I don't have any anymore. I have adults now." So I got to figure out how to move into that phase in my life.
Yeah. And you working towards it, and I want to touch back on that. I just wanted to say something about like grief. Like everybody deals with grief differently. And there's different stages of grief. And sometimes it's that angry stage. It's that acceptance stage. It's that denial stage. So there's always these different stages when people go through grief. And we realize that during that time, everybody deals with it differently. I dealt with it one way. You dealt with it one way. Daddy dealt with it one way. So we saw how it could affect all of us.
Right.
And another thing was I wanted to ask you, what do you like about your going to therapy? What do you like about it?
Therapy, for me, it's a safe place with an unbiased opinion. I actually see a psychiatrist because of what happened to me. So I see a psychiatrist. And what it is, it's a space for me to be able to speak exactly how I feel without someone judging me. So I can say whatever I want, however I want, and then we can dissect what I'm saying to make it make sense to myself and not feel guilty about what I'm saying and how I'm feeling during a therapy session. So at the end of each session, I feel like there were days that I've sat my first session, I actually cried for 30 minutes, just cleansing myself and crying. And then even Daddy said to me one day, "Is therapy really good for you? Because you always come out upset." And the psychiatrist said to me, she says, therapy is not always going to be good. There's going to be great sessions, and there's going to be sessions where you need to get the things off your chest that you need to get off, and it doesn't feel good. So I think that's a conception with people, that they're afraid that therapy is not going to feel good to them. And at first it might not. But if you have a great therapist, they're going to get you to that comfortable space where you know that you're safe, and that you can get through those feelings and those emotions, and you'll be okay once you get to the other side of the emotion. A lot of people stay stuck in a place that they're afraid to get out of. But if you can, it's like liberating. Once you talk about something, you learn that you survived it because you're still here, and it's okay. Because anything that's happened in your life, it can be talked about, and the healing process can take a long time. There's no time limit on it.
Yeah, that's definitely true, that healing, you do therapy when you're ready to do it. I feel like everybody does it on their own time, and it gets put off sometimes because sometimes we're not ready to deal with those tough feelings, those tough emotions.
Right.
And so as a therapist, like, people come when they're ready.
Right.
And when they're ready to start the journey, they start. When they're not ready, they don't start. And it definitely does take time. And yeah.
Okay. Well, I think one of the things about time is some people, I notice, will say they want therapy, but then they don't commit to it. It's about the commitment to it's making a commitment to yourself. And once you decide to put yourself in that position where you want to be better, the healing process and the journey begins.
Yeah, I remember before going into the doctorate program, I saw a therapist for like 5 sessions, and I realized that, okay, I'm trying it because I was getting a therapy. And for me, I was like learning. I'm like, oh, it's being on the other side, and it was cool to be on the other side. I learned things from her. And I think with therapy, you really got to start taking accountability, because you're going to a person every week and you're telling them these things, and then you got to do what you got to do to take accountability for what you want to change. And I realized at that time I was in a relationship, and she was like, it's really on you. And I wasn't ready to let it go. And then every week I'm talking about it. She's like, it's your decision. And I'm like, okay, all right, not ready to be done. But I just kept going. But it's, things are on your own time, and healing takes your own time. So that's definitely true. And it holds you accountable. So that's what I learned from my journey with therapy. And one day I'll go back. But that's what I learned through that time.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's good to have someone to talk to, because we can talk about everything, but it's going to be, as a mother, when you're talking to me, I'm going to always try to be protective of you. So even, talking about your relationship, I'm always going to be on your side, no matter what this guy does or says, or, even if it's something, if you want to talk to me about your friend, and that is where the bias comes in, because as your mother, I'm going to want to protect you and protect your feelings, and nobody better not hurt my baby, because I'm going to just go out, So that's why it's good to talk to a therapist and get that real version of what you need to hear, or what, putting it in your words and what you need to feel, because you don't want to always be like, I know I can be a little bully sometimes, and I'll if you tell me something that someone did to you, I'm like, I'm not going to like them anymore. And I can't do that all the time, especially that we're adults now. So it's good to talk to someone else.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing too. Like, that's why I can't be a therapist with my own friends and stuff, because because you want the best for your friends. So that's not,
that's not healthy.
No, it's not going to work. And then you remember, and then,
right.
I mean, people, when you tell people things, your family and friends, they
hold on
they
to it.
hold on to it, and you'll forget about it, and then you want them to still like this person. So that's one thing. So that's why it is good to go to a non-biased person and get it all out with them,
Right.
and then you can return to everyone else, and there's no harsh feelings.
Right.
And
Speaking about that, I wanted one thing I remember when my daughter was started dating, and I would tell her, it was weird because I want her to tell me everything, but I was like, when you're seeing some guys, you can't tell me everything and then expect me to invite them over for Sunday dinner and sit at my table. So that was a challenge. You remember me telling you that? And I was like, then I felt bad that I said that, because I'm like, I shouldn't limit her to what she should talk to me about. But that's my personality. I can't be fake and phony. Like, I'm going to be at the table like, what'd you do to my... And I don't want to do that because I'm not even supposed to know the business. So I said, limit what you say to me where I can still respect him being at my table and feel good about it. And how did you feel about when I said that? I know it was kind of weird, but did you get it?
no, I got it. And I think what we needed to learn, me becoming an adult, was that we needed to learn balance of how much we should tell and how much we shouldn't tell, and boundaries.
Right.
Because you used to say, if you shouldn't be doing it if you can't talk about it.
Right.
So then that would be like your way of saying, tell me everything. But at the same time, like, you don't need to know everything.
I don't.
But now we're working on that. We're working on boundaries. We learned it in Florida because I had my own place, my own apartment, and then you were coming into my space, so we had to set some boundaries.
Yeah, that
And
was her place. Yeah, but at my house, there's no boundaries for her. She takes over the whole house.
But
okay,
like
that's another
one
topic.
small boundary is that, like, if the door is closed,
right,
you knock first.
But
right? That's one we had to learn, because when we first came to Florida, you just walked in my room. I'm like,
yeah.
But we learned that boundary.
But she walks into my room.
I knock first.
No. Okay. Well, you know what? That's a whole topic about healthy relationships.
Yeah.
One day we're going to talk about boundaries and how important it is in every relationship to have boundaries and to respect boundaries no matter who it is. So, and where you are. So, in our house now, everybody has their space, and we respect that space as your room is your room, my room is my room. And you know, when I moved into her place, she had the bigger bedroom. She had the best. Her bathroom was in her room, and I had to respect that because that was her place. I got my little space in the other side of the house, and I learned not to.
That sounds similar. We just set up the home. We just set up a home office at home, and she wanted to share the office. Well, we're sharing the office for the business, but my side of the office is like most of it,
and I have a little corner. But that's hers. It's her business, and I have to respect that, and I have to understand that. One thing that I tell people about working for my daughter is that at the end of the day, I won't make money if she doesn't see the clients. So her job is to see the clients, and my job is to make sure that we get paid. So in the interim of that, because that's what she wanted to focus on. She just wants to focus on mental health and taking care of her clients, and I have to make sure that she does certain things that we can make this business profitable. And that's my position. I cannot do anything without the doctor signing off on things. Nothing's going to happen if she doesn't complete her part of the assignment. We're not getting paid if she doesn't sign the checks. So it's a big challenge, and I'm really loving to see her being a boss, telling me what to do, and I have to do it. And I'm learning a lot, and I'm understanding that I won't be successful if she's not successful. It's her business. So, I like it. I love it. I love that, we're doing it together. We're starting it from the ground up. And I know that someone told me, because I speak to different people, and they say, build and they will come. And we're building slowly and securely and making sure that who we get, we keep. And we know that business is spread by word of mouth.
Yeah, definitely. And do you feel like, I know some people say you can't get into business with family and stuff like that. Do you feel like how has business affected our relationship?
You can't do business with everyone. And that is something that before you get into business, it's setting the boundaries and setting up exactly what the person is responsible for and hold them accountable for that. And if they're not doing their job, it's okay to let them go. And I feel like, the business is only going to work if we know what we're responsible for, and you're held accountable for what you're supposed to do. And if you're not doing it, and if I can't do something, I come to you and I say, Kyana, I can't copy and paste this letter, and there's certain things I don't know because I never learned. And one thing that we didn't talk about in the beginning of this about how we got here is Kyana is the first person in our family to get to this level of education. Her father and I finished high school, so it was important for me for her to get to the next level, because I always told her chasing paper is not chasing that money, but having the things you need to get the money. I can go into an interview, and we talked about this so many times. I have to prove myself. You already have the proof that you can do certain things, and that's why those degrees mean something for me as working for you, because I know that you can put in the work. You know how to stay focused. You know how to finish a job that you started. I don't have that proof, so I have to always prove myself. But going into business, you have to learn to turn off the business when it's time to just talk. Like Kyana will say, I don't want to talk about business today at home, and we don't. We have a work schedule, and we shut it off. And then if we have to talk about something financially or something pertaining to the business, now that we have the office space set up, we'll do it in that space, and I like that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I feel like with the business, I felt like it's teaching us, like you said, it's teaching us boundaries. And I feel like we always communicated, but I feel like we communicate at a different level now. Like
Right.
we're working towards the same goal.
Right.
So we have conversations. It might get intense sometimes,
Right.
but we figure it out and we get through it.
Right.
And I think is building our communication definitely, and building our boundaries together.
Yeah, I think people have a misconception of what perfect relationships are, and to have that good relationship, you have to go over hurdles, and you have to have tough conversations sometimes to get a point across. And my husband always feels like he's the referee sometimes, because we'll go at it, and people won't realize that Kyana has this side of me that's in there. She has that side of her dad that's in her. And when it comes out, sometimes I have to learn how to handle it, and I have to understand that she's a woman, and she should be talking to me that way sometimes. She's not a little girl anymore, and it's not disrespectful to be powerful. It's not. It's a great thing. And then she doesn't understand sometimes when she says certain things to me. I go in the bathroom and I'm like, yes, I did a good job. And I know that she can handle herself without me being there. But if she needs me to be there, I'm going to be there. But one thing that we also have that people don't realize, Kyana and I are total opposites. She's very quiet. She's very laid back. She's more reserved. She's the one watching everyone in the room, and I'm the one talking to everybody in the room. And that's a balance that we need for our business as well, because I will go out and talk to people and spread the word, and she's just observing, and she kind of waits for people to come to her, and I'm going to go get them to come to her. So that's where we're using that. We're using our strength to build what we need to get.
Yeah, definitely. So I do think we balance each other out in that way. And, so it's been good. I feel like we've been balancing each other out. So that's definitely been working, and we're finding what works for us in business and everything. Definitely.
Yeah. A lot of people ask me, what do I do? And I say, I just live life. I have the life experiences, and what I have over you is just more experience of dealing with more situations. And then you can come to me and I can share my experiences with you from just a regular point of view, and she gives me her education point of view. Sometimes when I use certain words, she'll say, don't use that word, or that's not a good term. And I'm like, well, I didn't learn that in school. You have to, but I'm getting better at that, because we used to use words like broken, and we used to use words like damaged, and we used to use words, and you'll teach us why it's not a good reason to use certain words.
Yeah.
And I'm learning. That's how I learn.
And I realize I'm tough with those words, but when I say certain words, like broken and damaged, like those words to me, they mean like it's the end all be all, like you can't get better from it. Okay, something broke, but it could be fixed. So like when it's broken, it just means that that's it. Like there's nothing else that could be done. Or
Right.
damaged, that it's just over with. So like
So
it's
you have-
okay to
so I
use
say
those words.
teach-
So like if we say something broke, but that we could fix it, or it got damaged, but okay, how can we find another way to heal from it? You
Right.
know,
But
it just seemed like final, and then something just messed up because it's broken or damaged. So
Right.
that's how I look at it, and I'm into affirmations and reframing things. So that's where that comes from for me.
right. So
Does that make sense?
it makes
Okay.
sense, but sometimes when regular people are having a conversation, we're not trying to hurt. That's what we know. So that's what therapy does as well. And having these therapeutic talks is finding different words and different ways of dealing with things to make it feel better, right? So that's why we're doing this podcast, because a lot of people talk to people in ways that aren't healthy. So we want to teach people how to have healthy conversations and deal with conflict. So that's why I'm here, because I'm just a mom or a person who didn't necessarily go to school, but I have people that come to me all the time with issues and problems, and then I'm honest. I'm saying, well, I'm not really sure how to deal with this, but there's a way. Let's find a way. I have people that always ask me about therapists, and I'm like, now that I'm learning about insurance, I'm like, call your insurance companies, see if they're covered, if that's the way you want to go. We're learning different ways. There's no way to not get therapy, and one of the things that we definitely want to work on for this year is I definitely am trying to work on a way to find an avenue for people who believe they can't afford it and get therapy, because a lot of people, that's their first stigma. I can't afford it. I don't know a good therapist. We want to put ourselves out there where if that's what you need, we'll find a way for it to get done, and build a network of where people can find a way to speak to somebody that they're comfortable with.
Yeah, definitely. So we're getting there. It's building, and all that will come. So I like that we have this platform now that we could put certain things out there, and we're doing our part to be able to help people no matter what their situation is.
Right. And if it's important to realize that not every therapist might work for you. So that's another thing that we're going to make sure that we talk about, is that just because you found one therapist that didn't work for you doesn't mean you can't find someone else.
Yeah.
And that's something that people should know, going into therapy when they're ready to talk.
Yeah.
But I think that in the long run, the world of social media and doing things, I've realized that about therapy. And some people, not everyone, I'm not saying everyone, some people are sensitive because they will take what you say or what we're talking about and relate it to themselves, and become sensitive, even though it's not a personal situation.
Okay.
That's something that I feel happens often to me. Like I might say something, and I have, because I work in an office now that deals with mental health. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings by something I say. So I'm trying to be more sensitive by using the right words and saying the right things, because I don't want to turn people off. How do you feel about that as a therapist? Like, how do you get through those feelings of when someone comes to you to say a certain thing and you don't want it to, you have to, I guess you have to talk to them first. So that's why communication is important.
Communication is important, and definitely thinking before I talk, because I feel like as a therapist, my words could be powerful, So I really take in, I really try to listen to what people are saying and try to give the best response possible. And because I don't, like you said, you don't want to turn people off. And but at least with you, you're aware of how you might come off.
Right.
So that's good that you have that awareness. So,
Right.
you know.
I think that's the whole summary of what I was
Mhm.
trying to get to. Just being aware of what I say,
Mhm.
how I say it,
Mhm.
when I say it, and be able to stand by what I say.
Yeah.
And not turn people away from therapy or
Mhm.
turn people away from talking, because they don't like something I said. So
Mhm.
that is something that I definitely want to think before I speak and be aware of who am I touching or affecting. So that's why I
Mhm.
think more before I speak.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could always get the message across without hurting people's feelings. Sometimes, you know. So.
You feel that way?
Hmm?
You feel that you can
Like just like you said, it's how you say it. What you know. Sometimes it's not what you say; it's how you say it. So, like if you say it in a certain way, then it won't sound as hurtful, or people are more open to take it in, or their defense will come down, and they'll hear you
Right.
because, like you said, people are going through certain things, and based on their experiences, they might respond a certain way.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
that's
That's a lot.
yeah. So I
I
want
give
you
you
to
a lot
take
of
that
credit.
pressure off yourself that you have to say the right thing all the time. If you say the facts and
Right.
stick to the facts and just watch tone and approach, then it
Right.
should be okay. And if you notice that somebody gets offended or defensive about what you say, you talk about it.
Right.
Clarification.
Yeah. One of the hardest things and it's for both of us, is sometimes we're having discussions and people will say, "What does your daughter do?" And I hate. At first, I had a hard time saying doctor. I couldn't. I felt like if you say that word, it's like I had to get used to saying it. I would just be like, "Oh, she's a therapist, marriage and family therapist." And then when I started working for her and getting her credentialed, the insurance companies are like, "Oh, she's doctor. Oh, she's doctor," and I was like, "Yeah, she's a doctor. Yeah, I got to get used to saying that." But I didn't feel like I didn't want to feel like I was bragging. Like it was a hard thing for me to. And then Kyana was like, "It's not bragging if you're stating facts." And that helped me a lot. And I was like, she's like, and I said that, like, that's what I want our podcast to be about, is about the truth and being truthful and being everything that we say, we can support it. And everything that we talk about is real. Like, there's nothing made up here. And when we do get to the part about people calling in and asking questions and telling the truth and being able to, sometimes we might have to set boundaries because it might be too personal, but I want us to always tell the truth. And nothing that we have or that we've accomplished is not true. You can Google her now, and she's on. And even I get like, oh my gosh, that's my daughter on Psychology Today. She's on Therapy for Black Girls. She has her own websites. It's Therapeutic Talks LLC. Now we have Tajes Therapeutic Talks. So please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment. Let us know what you want to talk about. Give us some subjects to talk about. I really want to get into, if you need some healing, anything that you want to talk about. That's what we're setting up this platform for. We want to get the subjects from what people want to talk about. And then that way we can help and get people a way to find their way of healing.
Definitely. So
you ready for that?
Yeah, I'm ready.
I'm ready.
Yeah, thanks for closing us out. That's what this podcast is here for, to have real conversations, have healing conversations. And yeah.
We started out this year having a power meeting in the beginning of the year and setting some goals, right? So we're going to hold each other accountable for some of the goals. So this was one of your goals for the new year. I'm so happy that you're doing it. I'm proud of you again from another level, that you're sitting in front of a camera even though you don't like public speaking. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm shy. I don't like public speaking, but this I'm glad we did it this way, and I did this with you because I see it's not that bad,
No.
and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And just like you were saying, you were scared to say that your daughter's a doctor or whatever. Like me, I'm shy about it. Like I'm shy about it. Just like I'm shy in front of the camera. I don't like being center stage in front of the camera, but that's something I want to work on because for the future, people are gonna want me to talk. They're gonna want to hear my voice. They're gonna want to hear what I have to say. So this will be a platform for me to do that. And I don't want to be the expert in everything, but I like to learn from my experiences, other people's experiences, and that's what I want this to be about, you know?
All right. I'm glad that you're opening up the platform to share with me, and we can do so many things as business partners, mother daughter, and I'm happy that, we can share our strengths and our weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm excited to see where this is going to go and where people are going to use this as a positive, safe place.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really, really proud of you again.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being a part of my first episode of Tajes Therapeutic Talks. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I look forward to future conversations and future episodes.
Yes.
Yes. So thank you.